Hello and welcome to Big Dumb Movie, where we discuss a different Big Dumb movie every episode. I'm your host Corey, and I'm here with my co-hosts Alan.
Hello.
And Steve.
Sup?
What's up, guys? We have some news. Let's talk about news for a change. We don't normally do this, but very recently, a few days ago, it was announced that Robert Pattinson will play the Batman in the Matt Reeves film, The Batman.
It's important to know that this one is the Batman.
It is
just
the Batman.
Like the Predator. It's not just Batman, it's the Batman.
Oh, you're right, like the Predator sequel.
Yeah, the Predator.
What do you think, Steve?
I want to not prejudge. Like, I want to believe he's capable of carrying a part. Like, people flipped out when they announced that Keaton was getting the part in the original '89. Everyone was like, he's a comedic actor, he does funny stuff. He's not Batman, blah, blah, blah. And, like, I don't think he was a perfect choice, but he was a really good Batman. He worked. Like, people ended up liking him. So maybe we'll get that here, you know? But, I don't know. I just so heavily associate him with the vampire teenager and the moody emo garbage. And I haven't... The only other thing I've seen him in since those was...
Good Time.
You know what? Okay, we saw Good Time. He was actually pretty good in Good Time.
I agree. Good Time's one of my favorite films.
Yeah, that one does give me a little faith that maybe he's capable of being broader, but I don't know.
I think he's a great actor. I didn't think that for a long time. Yeah. I saw some pieces of Twilight many years ago, and I just thought it was really horrible.
Yeah.
And after seeing him in other films like Good Time, Maps to the Stars, Lost City of Z, I actually respect him a lot as an actor. I think he's really great.
Yeah.
And I think he'll do well.
I think they're going to do the Keaton body again, though. He's just like a slender dude.
I don't know. People nowadays are expected to get pretty physical for a superhero role. Yeah. It was a different time in '89 or '88 when he was cast.
Right. I was actually just going to say that. I think he has the whole like dark, brooding thing down. Like, I don't think it's going to be bad acting. But we've never seen him like in shape or supposed to be like really buff.
Bruce is kind of dynamic that way. Like, he doesn't want people to associate him with Batman in his day-to-day life. So he's supposed to be kind of a jovial Joker of a playboy, like this act that he puts on.
He's the Joker?
Right, yes, that too.
That's the twist.
But like, it's, the facade that he puts on, and like, I have no reason to believe Robert Pattinson can't sit in a dimly lit room and act brooding. But, is he going to be able to pull off the rest of it?
Well, here's some other news, Steve. I don't know if you know this yet, but the villains were announced as well.
I didn't know that.
The same villains as Batman Returns, my friend. The Penguin and Selena Kyle Catwoman.
Why would they double down on him again? I don't know. That's a very... I mean, Burton did it, but pulling off two villains in one movie is not easy. I don't know if my first time out with a reboot of the franchise like this, if I'd want to be doing that if I were in Reeves' shoes.
Maybe it'll be a shot-for-shot remake of Batman Returns.
Gus Van Sant proved that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Speaking of villains, or speaking of two villains,
right.
There was two villains in this movie.
Oh, you're right. There was Diamond Face and British guy.
Diamond Face and British guy.
Elon Musk.
So we watched, as Alan is describing here, we watched a film called Die Another Day. It's a 2002 James Bond movie directed by Lee Tamahori. It's one of the Brosnan Bond films.
It's the last one
he did. The final Brosnan film. He was 49 when this film came out, so he was getting up there in age. Even if this film was good, I think it was time to retire him.
I'm pretty sure Roger Moore, who was Bond 2 Bonds before Brosnan, got forced out at about the same age. They just like, well, he always claimed that he retired. Albert R. Broccoli always said they fired him because he'd gotten too old. God knows which one's the truth, but... Yeah.
You can't really be like 60 years old and be Bond. It kind of...
Yeah. I mean, that was one of the flaws with Never Say Never Again, which we discussed a little last time, is that like Connery was still good for the part as a character, but he was too old at that point.
So Never Say Never Again, that's when they brought Connery back.
It's the one they brought him back for. And like, to their credit, they do make a little bit of a joke out of it. Like, part of the underlying recurrent theme of the film is that he's really at the end of his career. He's kind of too old to still be doing it, and this is really like the last thing he's going to do.
Do you know how old he was?
Late 50s or early 60s.
Damn.
I mean, he looked fairly young for the age, but and the makeup and the hairstyling helps. But yeah, he was already past the point at which he should have stopped playing Bond.
I didn't think about it while watching it, but now that you mention it, I felt like this was probably a very good choice to make this his last one, because you said he was 49 and he didn't look old, but it was perfect timing before he started to look old. Because I never got the impression he couldn't be Bond in this movie. I didn't like the movie, but he didn't look like too old to do anything.
They rarely ever do more than 4 or 5 of them with one actor anyway, but I get the feeling he may have had a longer career if he'd become Bond when they originally wanted him to. There's a whole involved saga with like him. He was supposed to have been Bond like in the late 80s, and it ended up not happening. It was a gigantic screw job. Like everyone was angry.
Really?
Yeah.
His first one was GoldenEye, and this was his last one.
Yeah. And GoldenEye was 97, so 5-year spread between his first and his last. Yeah.
97, are you sure?
Maybe it was 95.
I think it was like 95.
It was either 95 or 97.
96.
It might have been 95.
Jamie, look that shit up.
Right.
But anyways,
All right, so in Die Another Day, we have Pierce Brosnan, final role, like we mentioned before. And I wanted to ask you guys if you saw this in theaters or what your experience was, as I always do. But Alan, I know you haven't seen it.
I have not, and funnily enough, I just remember it coming out, but I don't remember anything about the movie. I knew of its existence. I remember the one thing I remember is the shot when Halle Berry as Jinx, when they first show her getting out of the water in the orange
Daniel
bikini.
Craig style, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that shot because they made a big deal about it. Look how hot she is.
Well, my question for you, Alan, is what's your favorite Bond film?
Well, I'm gonna cheese out and just say it's GoldenEye, just because that's the one I remember seeing the most. That had the best game. Probably GoldenEye.
I agree with you there. I actually really like GoldenEye. Bond movies were a thing. Like I had like a fatherly bond with my stepdad and my real dad when I was a kid with James Bond movies. So my dad would take me to see the Bond movies in theaters, like GoldenEye and the other ones when they came out, and we kind of bonded over that. Okay. And my mom's ex-husband, Kenny. Shout out to Kenny if you're listening. He would not take me, but he would rent the older Bond videos, and he would like fill me in on the lore and stuff. So he kind of gave me some experience with the older ones. So watching any James Bond movie reminds me of like my dad and my stepdad.
Right.
I kind of have fond memories of it, but especially GoldenEye, and I really love that movie. It's really good. Steve, what's your experience with Die Another Day?
I saw it in theaters when it came out with some friends. I was already a Bond fan. I was, 19 when this movie came out. I was a fan of the franchise and went to see it with friends. I'd seen the other Brosnan movies in theaters as well. And, I mean, I couldn't honestly say, like, I hate this movie, but it was definitely among my least favorite Bond movies. It's not even my favorite with Brosnan. Like, I kind of left the theater saying, it was okay.
There was a time when I really didn't like this. I actually saw this in theaters twice.
Yeah, oh really?
Yeah, once with my dad, and once with a girlfriend I had in high school, Samantha. I actually messaged her about this, and I said, like, do you have any like funny stories? Did anything funny happen that day that I could talk about on the podcast? She just said, we barely watched the movie. Anyway, so Die Another Day. Should we get into the plot here?
Yeah, may as well.
Yeah, the plot gets weird pretty fast.
All right. Well, I mean, you're right. The plot is a little hard to follow, but we'll see if we can explain it here, okay? Now, it starts off with some extreme action. We get James Bond surfing into the scene. What do you think, Alan?
Didn't like that. It was too corny. It's just like, why is he surfing? And there's 2 other guys. They're like, that's how they're getting to the shore of North Korea. That's how they're infiltrating their operation. They have to like surf in.
You know why he's surfing? Because of the old school James Bond is out at this point. This is your new extreme James Bond.
This is dangerously close to XXX.
This came out dangerously close to XXX. It came out the same year, I believe. And I think there was some like kind of competition going on with like, oh, we're going to make a new James Bond and he's going to be cool and he's going to be into extreme sports.
Extreme X Games.
Yeah, exactly. The X Games were really big back then.
That's what XXX was supposed to be, right? Like James Bond for teenagers.
Right.
You know, and like, stupid though.
And this one was trying to do some of that, I feel like, with at least that opening stunt.
Trying to be cool.
And some of the other stunts. I mean, he breaks out the surfboard a couple times.
I was going to say, this is not the last time we see the surfing.
Also, I think the Bourne Identity came out like a year before this, or the same year maybe. And obviously, like the James Bond, the studio that owns them, were taking some cues from that with the Craig version, because the Craig version's a lot more like the Bourne Identity in terms of martial arts and action.
Well, like some of that was Brosnan was not real happy with the tone of this one. It wasn't all that much different than the other ones, but apparently he had discussions with the producers where he said we should make this more like some of the older ones, maybe more like some of the ones the two that Dalton was in, and be a little bit less gadget centric and a little bit less campy about the way we do it. And at the time, MGM and Eon Productions were like, no, we want to do it this way. But this was the last one they made before they rebooted with Craig, and then they kind of went back that other direction.
So this way, meaning like the more corny way?
Yeah, more corny, more campy,
more explosions,
right?
More cliche action.
You can kind of see with this film, like just in general, there's a real interesting shift. The very late 90s, the very early 2000s was kind of the last gasp of making action movies in a certain way. There's a certain tone to them and a method of making them. You see really common, even if you watch like the two Zorro movies that came out with Antonio Banderas, are really good examples as well. It's kind of like the very large music and the big scale sets and there's just a ton of them. And by the time this movie came out, that genre was really dying anyway. This was kind of like the last big gasp of it before they kind of aesthetically transitioned to making action movies in a different way.
I could see that. Yeah, this was like the big campy explosions. He's
right.
Going through the set, making it to the end.
Right.
Everything's blowing up. It's ridiculous.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, it's from a different age for sure.
Yeah.
So we get James Bond and his like extreme surfing into North Korea. And what he's doing is he's taking the place of like this guy that's selling blood diamonds to some North Korean Colonel Moon, right?
He's selling them to his son. The son is the one doing the shit, but he doesn't want his dad to know.
Yeah, Colonel Moon is the son, General Moon is the dad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And at the beginning, James Bond goes to approach these guys. He has the diamonds. He's like undercover or whatever, but they find out he's James Bond. Like one of the guys has like an old like digital camera looking thing. He like takes a picture of James Bond, and I assume he like texts it to someone. Yeah. And then he gets a message back being like, "That's James Bond, GTFO."
That man is no other than Johnny Tran.
That's right. Soon to be Diamond Face, but this is before he gets diamond in the face.
So he's still just Johnny Tran now.
Yeah, he's still just regular Johnny Tran.
Face.
So, Johnny Tran, actually, it's right after that. Because James Bond, like, plants a bomb in the diamond case and blows it up, the C4, which says, like, C4 on it in big letters.
Right,
so
C4 would have been done way more damage than that.
C4? Is that C4?
He has, like, a little gadget tied to his watch to, like, trigger it.
Yeah. And then he creates a supervillain, Diamond Face. It's pretty good. Right after that, everything like goes to hell. It's like, the deal's gone wrong. They know it's James Bond. And huge action scene. Which one of you guys can tell us about this huge action scene?
I can, because I remember it being not great.
What's not great about it?
Well, after he finds out, when he sets off the explosion, that's where it kind of starts, because everything goes to hell. So he sets off the explosion of the diamonds. Diamond Face is born. Everyone starts fleeing. Everyone starts shooting. They then proceed to get onto those hovercrafts because he's like chasing them. So the Colonel tries to escape, but Bond gets on a hovercraft and chases him. And Bond has what looks like an Uzi. So as he's driving through the base and chasing him, everything he's shooting is blowing up. Because that's how action movies work.
Of course, yeah. There's just so much fucking explosions in the beginning.
Everything's blowing up, gunfire everywhere. It's too chaotic. There's just way too much going on.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the effects look pretty good because they're real for the most part, with the exception of a kind of shitty like green screen in the background. But there's just too much going on. Like it's cutting too fast, and they're showing too much shit blow up. Like it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of jarring, don't you think, Steve?
Yeah, and it's distracting. Like, you can't really focus on any part of it because they're moving around with it so much. People complained about that with Batman Begins, but I thought it was way more egregious here.
Well, in Batman Begins, the hand-to-hand stuff is really close up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is like a lot of quick explosions. Like
Yeah.
he shoots a thing and it explodes and then it cuts, then it goes back to him and it cuts again and it's him from reverse.
Right.
There's a
More
lot of
things
that.
are exploding. It feels just too much like it is. Like just like a set that they triggered for explosions that happens in sequences. It's like as he's driving, everything is exploding next to him or whatever he's shooting at. It feels exactly like that's what they did with the set. They just had it all rigged up so everything's gonna blow up as you go through.
They needed a lot of Asian stunt people for these big sequences, and apparently there were only 2 fully professional stuntmen of Asian descent working in all of the UK at the time, which is weird. And they ended up going to martial arts schools and finding people of Asian heritage who were adept enough that they could be used as like makeshift stunt people and play soldiers in the background and stuff.
No way.
Yeah, I swear to God.
The great Asian stuntman shortage of 2002.
Right? Well, only if you live in England, I guess.
Yeah, you got to keep in mind it's a British production.
Right?
They're not as progressive as us anyway.
Also, I felt like this beginning scene just went way too long. Like how much they just chased each other for like at least 5 minutes. Again, everything's blowing up. It's too much action.
I agree.
It was way overwhelming.
It ends with Colonel Moon getting like plummeted down a waterfall cliff, presumably down to a watery grave. You get that right, Steve?
I think so.
And James Bond like jumps off the hovercraft and he like is hanging on to this bell, and he jumps down and he's like,
Saved by the Bell.
Oh my god.
Oh, yeah.
That hurt. I was like, why did he say that?
"There's the first cringe."
Why did that get approved? That
we're-
added nothing. No one, everyone hated it.
The screech
Why
was
say it?
severely lacking in this movie.
Screech?
Not enough screech.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's pretty good.
No, actually, I don't want to see him in anything.
Dustin Diamond.
Right? Yeah, he creeps me out.
So this is where James Bond gets captured by General Moon, so the guy that just died's father and his army. And yeah, he legitimately gets captured and taken in. They just start torturing him right away. I think this part is pretty good, but they don't show enough of it because that's when the James Bond music starts playing, and it's a really bad Madonna song that I hate.
Die Another Day.
I do not like this James Bond song at all.
The auto-tune, like, pop Madonna.
Disco-y, Madonna,
Disco-y.
super pop.
Synth.
Doesn't belong at all in a Bond movie.
Yeah.
It especially doesn't go with the scene of him being
Right.
like tortured.
Now, the name of the song is Die Another Day, which is the name of the title of the film here in the US. But I pulled this up again so I could get the list of them. The literal translations of the title used for this film in other markets, some of them are pretty fantastic. I'm going to just give you a few here.
Okay.
In Finland and Italy, it was Death Can Wait. In Brazil, it was A New Day to Die. In Portugal, it was You Die in Another Day. In Argentina, Peru, and Venezuela, it was Another Day to Die. In Poland, it was Death Comes Tomorrow. My favorite, though, is probably the Russian translation, which is Die, comma, but not today.
Sounds like some Yoda shit or something Yoda would say. He's like, die not today, but another day. Or
I wonder if they made Madonna re-record the song as Die, but not today in Russian.
Something tells me no.
No.
it's like
Madonna
that,
can barely handle English.
it's like that meme where it's like, can I copy your homework? He's like, yeah, but switch it up a little.
So what do you think, Steve, of the James Bond being in prison for 14 months and being tortured presumably every day?
That part, when I initially saw the film, that I thought was like one of the better components of it, because they'd spent so much time prior depicting him as just like invulnerable to almost any kind of serious injury and almost superhuman, and it was almost humanizing to see Bond as a character that could be captured and tortured. But I mean, it's really only there as a story point to just forward the rest of it. You know, they needed reason to explain why Bond has had his 00 status removed and how it is he can operate sort of outside the normal confines of their system, and setting him up as a prisoner who then gets recollected by MI6 and is temporarily relieved of his official status. Like, that accomplishes that. So I don't know. Like, it's not the worst way to start a movie, but I feel less positive about it now than I did before.
I agree with Steve on that same point that it was kind of cool, like he said, to see him get captured and humanizing, like he's getting tortured.
Right.
But they didn't dwell on it, and it really had no impact on the greater part of the story. Like Steve said, it was just kind of there just to advance the story or get it started. It really didn't have an impact, and they didn't explain it. It's just kind of like, oh, this happened, and now it leads to this.
The only instance they've allowed Bond on screen to have a beard. Honest to God, normally there's been an insistence he remain clean shaven. Him being captured was the only reason they let him grow the beard. And apparently the long beard and hair effect took like 3 hours in a makeup chair for some reason. Yeah. It happens to be on screen right now, too, which is great.
Well, I think I agree with you guys for the most part. I like the idea of him being captured and tortured.
Yeah.
But maybe in a better film.
Yeah.
But just to have it like once or twice, like...
You know what's a better example is when the henchmen get Craig toward the end of...
Casino Royale?
Yeah, it's at the end of Casino Royale where they've got him in the room, he's tied to the chair.
Yeah.
And they're kind of beat... Like, that was...
Mads Mikkelsen, Galen Erso?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that one worked way better for me.
Yeah. That guy built the Death Star.
I felt like
He did.
I felt like that one worked better because they actually like focused on it and made it seem
It was meticulous.
like it's like a thing that actually happened. In this one, they just kind of show a couple shots like, oh look, he got captured and he was tortured, and then it just advances the story.
Maybe it would have more emotional resonance
Yeah.
if it was with a better song.
Yeah, and a little more attachment, and by the time you get to it in Casino Royale, you're a lot more invested in what's happening.
I don't think they actually even show him getting tortured. The worst is like he gets his head dunked into some water. Do they actually show them?
They show him like tied up and like getting punched in the face.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's.
But then they
not
go
really
over it in
bad.
that ridiculous body scan segment. They just shine a bunch of like green flashlights at him, and all the doctors are like, "Oh, okay. Well, they injected him with scorpions, and then they inserted the anti-venom, and they did this and that and 3 other things. He's got all this damage, but they want to make sure you understand. Oh, as it happens, he's totally fine. He's gonna be fine, except a little bit of liver damage because he's an alcoholic and has been for decades. But like."
Yeah, they make a point to point out the liver. Just
Right.
like, oh, a little dab.
That happens after he gets out of it. So
Yeah.
he doesn't escape. He gets actually traded.
That's true. And then he escapes from the hospital that they're keeping him in, I guess is what I should have clarified. But yeah.
No worries. So that's our next thing that happens. They trade James. They make it seem like they're going to kill him by firing squad after
I
being
thought
there.
they were. I haven't seen it. I thought they were going to kill him.
You're right. That would be the end of it.
I mean, I guess not. But
Then
I didn't
Halle
see
Berry's the
I
star.
didn't see how it was going to end, or I didn't see what they were going to do.
But they release him and they exchange him for Zhao, which is Diamond Face, Johnny Tran. I got to pick a name for this guy.
Who somehow can't get the diamonds removed from his face. Like, they're now part of his face. Like, he didn't go to the hospital, get them taken out.
No,
It's
he
too
kept
hard.
them there.
Yeah.
He was never like hard up for cash and like took a diamond out of his face. He just keep him there all the time.
Why would you
dinner.
leave him there? I never understood. Even first viewing, I just do not get it. Why? Why leave him there?
That's the ultimate bling.
And
It really
it's
is.
also weird
Bling
how
face.
they're like in a perfect symmetrical pattern, or it like looks kind of cool. They're not just like randomly fucked up in his face. It's like this perfect
there's no
design.
scarring or blood,
Yeah.
scabby tissue, and there hasn't been a doctor anywhere that said, by the way, you might want to remove those diamonds from your face. Like, I don't know. Like,
Nah, it looks kind of cool. Just leave it.
it's like, nah, chicks are gonna dig it.
Yeah.
There is a little bit of scarring, but you're right. It looks too nice.
Yeah.
All right, so James Bond, he gets back to his handler M, and she's like, you know what? You've been captured, and everyone kind of believes that you've been giving them information, so you're no longer a 00 agent. You no longer have a license to kill. We're just gonna keep you in this glass room for a while. All right,
She
peace.
just kind of screwed him.
Yeah, but how does he get out of there, Steve? Is this a James Bond known canon ability that he can stop his own heart?
It's not that I can recall from any other movie. I mean, it's something that they've toyed with other characters in other films. But yeah, he's hooked up to an EKG and he makes it look like his heart is stopped through self-control. And that's a real concept. I remember learning about Buddhist monks who could, just by sheer will, lower their heartbeat to like an eighth of normal for extended periods of time and then just kind of come back from it. But he makes them think he's having a heart attack. So a bunch of them rush into the room to help him. They don't think to close or lock the doors behind them because as far as they're concerned, he's in the middle of having a heart attack and is not going to leave. Turns out that's not the case. So he beats them up and then leaves the room.
I was confused when he did that because the way they showed it is he had these almost like PTSD flashbacks of him being tortured.
Yeah, I guess he like uses that somehow.
Yeah, so I was confused. Like, did he use that to do that, or was he actually having like a traumatic experience because he was?
I think he was using it to channel the Force.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because like the way they did the flashback, I was like, oh, he's like messed up, or he's like having a flashback. But yeah, he probably just did that to get his heart rate, which I thought was weird.
Yeah.
And apparently he's on like a ship of some kind because he jumps off the ship and he like swims to shore and he is in Hong Kong.
Hong Kong.
Yeah, apparently they're docked somewhere in the harbor in Hong Kong or just off the harbor of Hong Kong.
Yeah. But he's like all fucked up. He's got a crazy beard. He's got crazy Jesus hair. He swims his way to some like fancy ritzy hotel.
Yeah.
And like the guy at the front's like, oh, do you even have any money, sir? Or any luggage? Like, you can't check in this hotel without luggage, you piece of shit.
Right.
But the hotel manager knows him because he's James Bond and he fucking knows everyone. Yeah. And he gets like the presidential suite and he gets like a ton of suits and he gets to shave and I guess a haircut.
And he gets the old bottle of champagne or wine.
It kind of begs the question, like, how does that get paid for? A room like that, even in the late 90s, early 2000s, it's got to be hundreds of dollars, if not thousands of dollars a night.
Put it on his tab.
Right? Like, does that get billed to MI6? Is the English government paying for him to live that way?
That's the first thing I thought.
Like,
because they revoked his status. Like, wouldn't they be like, you can't, you're like revoked?
You're right about that. I could theoretically see, if he's really that regular, I could theoretically see them saying we can bill you later. You don't necessarily need to pay us now. They don't know that he got
revoked?
Yeah, because they don't know his status got revoked. But even, you're right, but even under normal circumstances, like, who's paying? Why would MI6 do that? It's a government institution.
That's where our tax dollars are going.
Well, English people's tax dollars. And of course, this character is fictional, but still.
English people's tax dollars.
Right? Well, I'm not paying any taxes in England. I mean, they're not using my money for it. Like, I don't know about you
America.
If I lived in England, I'd pay taxes there, then I'd be mad.
So James Bond gets his fancy room, and he gets a knock on his door, and it's a hooker. And
masseuse.
That's right. My bad.
Racist.
So the masseuse is like in there. She's like ready to suck his dick or whatever. Whatever masseuses do. And then James Bond like reaches to her leg and there's like a gun.
She was going to massage his penis. Okay.
To death.
With this gun.
She was going to kill him. She was like an assassin from like the hotel owner. And the hotel owner was in the closet the whole time like filming. Because James Bond like throws the fucking thing at the glass and it's like two-way mirror. And behind the mirror, they're there with a camera.
Yeah, so I want to talk about that just for a second. Like,
yeah, that was a little weird.
James establishes the moment he does that the manager of the hotel is a Chinese intelligence agent, and that James has been aware of that for years. And okay, I can accept that part. But like, why would he have set up a surveillance room in one of the suite's closets? Which, by the way, if you looked when they opened the door, had clothing in it, so it's being used. Like, are you fucking kidding me? You couldn't have set up closed circuit cameras. You couldn't have surveilled him from the room next door. Why would you be in the closet in his room?
You couldn't have like little cameras built into the TV or something?
Like what, he's never going to go into this closet that there's a lot of clothing hanging in? Also, where'd all that clothing come from? Because he checked in with nothing.
It made it look like they were like going to film him having sex and it was like just like a perv thing.
Nothing about this makes it... Look, I'm going to
just wanted to see his dick.
Right.
That's what it made it seem like with the cameras in the closet.
Let's go ahead and put me and three other guys with a giant camera set up in the closet in this dude's suite. He'll never notice.
He'll never notice.
What?
And then we're going to film him having sex before she kills him.
And whose clothes were those?
The director said that scene is a reference to From Russia with Love.
Okay, yeah, cool reference, bro. But it's still stupid.
He has all the best references, this guy.
Everyone knows you've got the best references.
All right, so James Bond gets hooked up from the hotel manager. They come to an agreement, and he's like, look, I just want to find Diamond Face, him, pluck the diamonds out of his face.
M had made a point of telling James, when he was still in detention on the hospital ship, that over the weeks since they'd last seen each other, since James and Zhao had last seen each other, Zhao had assassinated 3 Chinese agents.
That's right.
So the dude at the hotel, who's a member of the Chinese intelligence community, he and his superiors have a reason to want Zhao gone. And James basically says, you guys don't even need to worry about involving yourself. I'll get rid of this guy for you if you just help me get out of here.
And he tells them that Zhao is in Havana, Cuba.
Yeah. Yeah, he tells James that Zhao's in. He was actually trying to get the Chinese to drop him back in North Korea. And that's when he discovers that Zhao's really in Cuba.
And in Cuba, where James Bond goes next, he meets his like contact who I don't really understand what this guy is attached to. He's like a cigar rich Cuban guy. I don't know what he does exactly.
So the guy basically operates pseudo-legitimately as a cigar factory owner. And I say pseudo-legitimately because at least my guess based on what they establish, it seems like he actually is running this business. But he also uses it as a front to do side business with people in the intelligence community. And Bond comes in and specifically asks for a rare variety of Cuban cigar, knowing full well that they no longer make that cigar, but also that it's the code word.
I see.
Knowing that is supposed to get you to the boss, like, oh, I know what you mean. It's like the password to get to a speakeasy.
Do you remember the code word?
Delictivo, I believe, is what he's asking for, which is a type of cigar. Delicado, I think. Yeah.
Something like that.
And he also mentions that he made off well after the revolution, or Bond kind of throws him some shade. He's like, oh, you made off well. Or something like that.
Well, quick one. This happened in Russia, too. When the USSR fell, a lot of quote-unquote friends of people in high places just got given really lucrative contracts. And this is especially prevalent in Russia. It's a group of people that are referred to as the oligarchs. And a lot of these guys basically run like the entire oil industry or the entire energy industry or the entire communications industry.
That they like stole or basically...
Yeah. The only reason they have it is because when they needed to parcel control of those things out while the union was collapsing, those guys just got given contracts.
They just took advantage of the situation.
And similar things happened in Cuba when Castro's people took over there. Certain friends of Castro and his people just kind of got given businesses, even though private business wasn't really supposed to exist there anymore.
Millions and billions.
Yeah. So, So clearly supposed to be somebody who's... The inference is this is a person who's close to the federal government in Cuba and thus has access to information and things that James would need.
And that's why he has a cigar factory where he's like chilling.
Yeah.
He basically gives James the green light to go after Diamond Face and tells him where to
find him.
Yeah, where to find him.
Oh, at the clinic, they established that he's running some kind of health clinic.
Yeah. And he gives him like 4 things. He gives him binoculars, a bird book, a gun, and a car. Now, I don't know if you guys know this, but the bird book, I'm pretty sure is a reference to James Bond.
Yeah. The bird book was actually, it's a real bird book. It's a real ornithological book. It is written by a real person named James Bond. Ian Fleming, who wrote the Bond books, was a big bird watcher and was especially fond of the real James Bond's books on birds. So he named the character from the film and the novels James Bond after the real guy who wrote the books about the birds.
Right. Yeah, he wrote that, like Birds of the West Indies, I think it was.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, this guy's all the best references. Believe you me.
Your references are off the hook, man.
But the bird thing is just kind of his cover. If anyone asks him what he's doing in Cuba, he's just like, oh, I'm just looking at birds. I got this book, got some binoculars. I'm legit.
This gun.
Yeah, I got this gun.
He's got the gun, like Two-Face.
He's got the Two-Face gun. So he meets Jinx here shortly after in Cuba, who is Halle Berry. Alan, can you tell us a little bit about their meeting?
Yeah, so this is the one thing I specifically remember from when you first asked me about my experience of the movie, is you see Bond, he's kind of chilling at the bar in some lounge at the place. And with his binoculars, he's looking out in the ocean. And you kind of get a first little short glimpse, and then he kind of zeroes in, or it like focuses on Halle Berry, aka Jinx, getting out of the water in like a skimpy orange bikini, huge breasts. She's swinging her hips around, and she's like super hot. And of course, James Bond has some stupid one-liner. He's like, "Oh, great view." What does he say about the view?
He's like, yeah, great view. And she's like, oh, it's too bad it goes unappreciated by most of these people, or something like that.
Fucking one-liners are just killing me.
It was a whole conversation of one-liners.
That's not how normal people talk. Like, everything they said was some kind of like witty cryptic message. Like,
It's all
that's not how
innuendo.
people talk.
100% innuendo.
Little bits of innuendo are part and parcel of this series, but it was like a 3-minute conversation where they said nothing to each other except innuendo.
They were
Like,
talking about like predators and prey and some kind of
Right.
owls or something. It was so dumb.
it's like it's just wasted moments. No,
Yeah.
no real need for that
Like-
scene. I get it. Everyone knows Bond's a sex hound and he likes Holly Berry. Great. Let's move
That's
on.
what I was saying. Like, okay, fine. Bond's supposed to be smooth. He's intelligent. He's witty, but every fucking thing he said had to be like cryptic or innuendo. It's like, come on.
Then it leads to the wonderful sex scene, which has just come on the television.
Oh yeah, and then they
So
did-
normally here is where you'd see like a fade, and then like a fade out, and then a fade in of like him leaving the bed or something, or like having drinks in bed, something like that. But it just shows them bang. It's just a sex scene. I don't think I've ever seen that in a James Bond movie.
It doesn't really exist in a Bond movie outside of this. And what's weird is it was even more graphic originally, and they trimmed a minute or so out of it to get a PG-13 rating instead of an R. Which is weird.
So they were really going at it.
Yeah, apparently. Like, I've never seen...
69ing.
Right? Something like that. It must have been gnarly, man. I mean, obviously, I've never seen the actual footage, but if that's what it took to get a whole rating change, it must have been something. Anyway.
All right, so we got James Bond going to find Diamond Face Zhao. And he finds the clinic, and he's kind of like snooping around, and he finds a secret door, which leads to the actual clinic. So first it kind of looks like a regular like Cuban clinic, like typically what you'd expect, but then it's all super high tech behind the secret door.
Right.
But before he goes there, and while he's there, this is the first time he sees Jinx going there too. So you kind of get the suspicion that something's up. Like, why is she there?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
This is the first time you kind of get the glimpse. Like, they don't say what she's doing there, and I was kind of confused, but she's there, so you're like, okay, something's going on. Like, why is she there too?
Everyone he meets is a spy. I mean, you got to piece it together at this point, right? So what happens in the clinic, Steve? Can you tell us a little bit about how things go down?
Holly Berry's Jinx is in a meeting with one of the doctors who is explaining to her that they remove or apparently like DNA neutralize all of the bone marrow in her body, and then either like replace it or reprogram it with bioinformation they've taken from other people. And like apparently this process turns you into another person by like rewriting your DNA with someone else's, which is a process that makes no sense in any context whatsoever. I mean, I think every part of that would probably kill you, but yeah. So James shows up.
So just to clarify, the science doesn't hold up.
The science does not appear to hold up.
Just to clarify, we are not watching Catwoman Origins.
I mean, look, the Selena Kyle in Batman Returns getting chewed on by cats and then suddenly being Catwoman doesn't make any sense either, I guess, in fairness. So, it's like,
What about Patience Phillips in the Catwoman movie getting like an ancient Egyptian cat curse or something?
that one, totally scientifically accurate, believe it or not.
Okay, I thought so.
Was this Ripley's Believe It or Not?
Right.
Where's Dean Cain?
Well, no, what's the one with Jonathan Frakes where he's like, that was a lie. We made it up.
Pure fiction. It's fiction. It's fiction. We made it up. We made this one up. It's a made-up tale. It's a total fabrication. It never happened.
Oh, yeah. Believe it or not or something? Or
No, Believe It or Not was Dean Cain. I know the one you're talking about where they tell stories and you have to like see
guess
if it's
which
real
one's
or
true.
not. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like
God.
around this time, I think, on Fox.
Surprise, none of them.
That's what I remember. I remember it being some really crazy story, and then you just see Jonathan Frakes in his beard, and he's just like, we made it up. Like,
Yeah.
So you wasted my fucking time, huh?
Right? Well, you just show me the one real one.
Did you think that was true? Because that was all made up. Or he said some like quirky line.
Even the one about the dog man wasn't real? Damn.
This one was true. Back in 1991, there was a woman, blah, 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 and this happened.
Well, this shit ain't true.
Yeah. So yeah, and then Bond discovers some weird equipment, and I think this is our first introduction to the Dream Machine, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah.
It's either the dream machine or like the science machine
that's
that
right.
turns you into the other guy.
Yeah. Okay. Now this is a confusing one. This moment I find a little confusing. He finds Zhao inside a piece of equipment at
dream
this
machine.
facility. Well, no, what he's in isn't really a dream machine, though. It doesn't have the mask on it.
Yeah, it did. Oh, no, it didn't. It had
yeah,
like
it
the
was-
one visor.
Yeah, the one visor thing, and it was speaking to him partly in Korean and partly in German or in English.
Yeah, they're going to transform into a German, I guess.
Yeah, that's the thing. I always thought that he was there starting a procedure to be turned into someone else so that he could just kind of blend back into the community. But they never addressed that again during the course of the film. There is a moment later on where he uses one of the dream machines, and there's a conversation he has with Gustav that kind of vaguely implies that he might also be going through this process. But it never plays out. You never really see him getting additional therapies. He never actually physically changes.
It's just a way to get him to look scarier, I think, because then he's bald and he has no eyebrows and he's albino.
Yeah.
Because he's like mid.
transitioning.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
mid-transition.
So it's like, yeah, I guess we're meant to believe he's in the middle of one of these transitions, but then they never do anything with it, other than, I guess, like you're saying, that gives him that appearance.
He's got the James Vaughn.
And what were they going to do about the diamonds that still have not been removed from his face? They were going to make him look like somebody else with diamonds in his face?
In the same
Like-
exact spot.
Right, yeah.
Oh, there's two people.
He's
with
just
these
another guy with
diamonds.
diamonds in his face. What's the big deal?
Can't there be two people with diamonds in their face? Fuck is your problem?
Diamond exploding in your face. That's more common than you think.
No, absolutely. Yeah, you're right. I saw someone yesterday with diamonds in their face, so must be normal.
He's a new rapper in 2019.
Diamond face.
Hey, that'd be a good gimmick.
Right.
All right, Steve, this is gonna hurt.
Right. No, you're not doing that to me. Alan's trying to bejewel my face, everybody.
So they have a little bit of an action scene. James Bond fights Zhao. Halle Berry kills the main doctor that does all this.
Oh yeah, she like aces him like crazy. She just straight up murders him.
Why?
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 I don't know. Because
Well,
he's a piece of shit.
Yeah, I thought they were going after Zhao.
Okay, but why? Why is he a piece of shit? What is he actually doing? He's helping people who want to have their faces changed.
He's just like, yeah, we capture like stray kids and we kind of use their DNA.
Oh, okay, that's true.
Yeah.
All right, you know what? You're right. He's a piece of shit. Never
no,
mind.
it's too late, Steve. You agree with him.
Well, about everything other than that part. Well, I don't know. I mean, is anyone going to miss the kids?
Halle Berry might shoot you if you keep saying that.
She'll show up, man.
Yeah, but she murders that guy pretty hard.
And then James Bond fights with Zhao, but Zhao gets away. But James Bond like steals his necklace, which has like diamonds, not his face diamonds, but I guess like other diamonds. It's a clue. He's wearing a fucking clue around his neck.
I think the inference there was supposed to be that he's using the diamonds to finance his stay at the hospital. Like he's selling them individually as he needs to, because they're probably worth thousands each. So
Okay, I could dig that. All right, so they get out of there. James Bond now has a new place to go. He has to go to England because he discovers that those diamonds are from a guy called Gustav Graves, who's like an English diamond mogul guy.
Elon Musk.
He's Elon Musk.
Yeah.
There it is.
he was supposed to really be. I mean, Musk is a good example too, but he was supposed to really be largely based personality-wise on Richard Branson. And they actually tried to get Branson to play the part at one point. I don't know why. It's probably for the better, but I don't know why it didn't happen. But he really was the inspiration for that part.
I see.
Eccentric billionaire.
Right.
Right. Just doing crazy shit like
Yeah,
building
and he's like
laser beams in space.
And he's an adventure junkie, and Branson's done all this crazy shit with jets and hot air balloons and all kinds of crazy stuff. So yeah,
Well, the first thing that we see him do is actually jump out of an airplane.
right.
And that's how he like shows up to like a press conference.
Yeah, that's true. And that was apparently extraordinarily hard to arrange because he lands outside Buckingham Palace, and getting the English government to approve letting them drop anybody over that airspace was apparently next to impossible. And then Queen Elizabeth's mother died like the week or within a week or so when they were planning on doing it. And it had to get pushed. They were like, no, there's too much going on. We don't want you here right now. And yeah, nutty stuff.
So they did let him pull it off though eventually.
Eventually, yeah.
Okay, so that's really where that was done.
Yeah, that really is. They really did do that drop over the Buckingham Palace area in England.
Jesus,
in
how much
London.
money did they spend just on doing all that?
Oh man, and the amount of security it required,
And the timing and the filming.
and like this, whatever the equivalent of the Secret Service is that guards the royal family had to be around, and they have to be compensated, and like the
All
production
the
pays for that,
employees,
and like yeah.
Shit, just for this one scene of him skydiving.
Right,
Like, Jesus.
Well, you got to show that he's an adrenaline junkie, man.
right.
This guy does
Oh
all
yeah,
kinds of
they'll
crazy
remind
shit.
man.
you later with the jet car.
In
They don't
terms
let you
of
forget that.
in terms of how much effort went into shoot a scene that does not last very long, that's not even close. In regards to this movie, we'll talk about it in a little while. But yeah.
Okay. Well, in the meantime, this guy apparently is a big-time fencer, a sword fighter, as well as Madonna, because she's like the sword fighting teacher. So James Bond goes to this like sword fighting fancy like class, fencing I guess is the right word, but Madonna's like the teacher there.
There is he. James Bond. Your lesson?
I see you handle your weapon well.
I have been known to keep my tip up.
I
the master
hated that.
fencer.
She was put in there. It's so obvious she was just put in there just because she's Madonna.
Yeah, you were
She
right to
had
hate
no like importance. Nothing she did mattered. It's just like, oh look, here's Madonna because she's like hot at the time, and she made the song.
She was so big in 2002.
Yeah,
Right?
She was.
So she made the song for this, and she made the song for the second Austin Powers movie, Beautiful Stranger,
it. Yeah.
with like the parody of the James Bond movie and the actual James Bond
Right.
movie.
They should have put her in the parody, kept her out of this one.
Yeah, well, she was in the music video.
Third Austin Powers was bad anyway. She couldn't have done anything.
There was no reason to have Madonna in here. It was such an obvious, like, studio decision. Just give her some role. Just show
Right.
Madonna's there. Like, everyone's gonna love it.
Well, she did so well being put in her former husband's movies. Ugh.
She was in Guy Ritchie's movies?
She was in a Guy Ritchie movie. And it was terrible.
Which one?
I'm blanking on the title. I'll have to look it up again. It was she did one like a year after they got married. Let me see if I can find it. But it was not a good movie.
Well, Steve's looking that up. I'll tell us about our next scene. So we meet Graves, and he is going to have this little like sword fight with James in the fencing thing. I guess he confronts him with the diamonds and says, look, these are like conflict diamonds. What the fuck's going on with this? And he says, all right, we'll sword fight for the info. What do you think of that whole part, Alan?
It was just another like cliche Bond thing. Now James Bond, he's an expert fencer, so he had to take fencing lessons on top of his surfing lessons. Like Bond can do everything. Oh, he just happens.
Well, there's
to
a
be
place
good
where you can
fencer.
get both, actually, yeah.
Fencing and surfing.
I actually like that scene because it is kind of your typical Bond scene, yes, but it's not too stupid for me. Like two guys sword fighting, I think it's not bad. It gets pretty physical. They decide to like announce the winner as the person who draws first blood from the torso or whatever, so they get real crazy with it.
Swept away.
Swept away.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, when you put it like that, I guess the first part of it was not bad because yeah, you're right. They're doing some fencing and it is kind of, I guess, cool. But it quickly goes off the rails when they announce that they have to do first blood and they get real swords. And then they start fighting all the way through like the whole building. They're
Crashing into
They're
statues.
crashing into stuff. They're going through windows. Now they're punching each other. Someone gets kicked. Like they're straight up just fighting to like survive. It goes from a fencing match to an all-out brawl.
I mean, what do you think, Steve? I think the fencing's kind of a highlight for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous the way it ends, but like that, I agree. That was one of the most Bond parts of the whole film, and it was entertaining for the most part. I like the setting, the huge mansion, and very classy British. And they did some weird camera tricks with that scene. They sped it up slightly, enough that it wasn't really perceptible, but to make it look like they were really fighting harder than they were.
Oh, nice.
It's kind of funny, yeah.
Yeah. Some of the speed ups that happen in this movie are way too noticeable. There's like some
Yeah.
weird speed up or slow downs rather that are just awkward, but that's cool. I didn't even notice it in that part.
No, it's not too perceptible. That came off well. Yeah, I mean, that I find to be one of the more enjoyable parts of the film.
This is also our introduction to Miranda Frost.
Yeah, how would you describe her, Alan?
Cold, blonde.
Cold, chilling,
Cold,
frosty.
chilly, frosty. Miranda-like. No, she just has no emotion. She's supposed to be super tough and like hardcore.
Can I expect the pleasure of you in Iceland?
I'm afraid you'll never have that pleasure, Mr. Bond.
She's like his assistant who's super tough. I don't know.
Yeah, she is played by Rosamund Pike, and this is her actual first film that she was ever in.
Wait,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
How crazy for your first role to end up being a lead in a Bond movie.
Yeah. I mean, she was in a few TV shows, but
That's
yeah,
true.
you're right. Yeah, she's Gustav Graves' like personal assistant, I guess, or publicist. I don't really know the difference. But yeah, she's not into the idea of Bond, and She's kind of like, I guess, Vesper in a way
Yeah.
in the beginning of Casino Royale, but they offer her a lot less humanity. Anyway, so yeah, they have their little sword fight. James Bond wins, and what does he win? An invite to Gustav Graves' Ice Palace. It's like this summit in, Iceland, I guess?
Iceland, yeah. So now they got to travel to Iceland, but before he goes over there, he meets up with Q,
Yes.
which is John Cleese.
He meets up with M and then Q, and they're basically like, all right, you could be James Bond again.
Now you're going to need all these gadgets in this invisible car.
You get this in every Bond movie where you get like the gadget gear up scene. Less so in the new ones, but in the older ones for sure. He meets John Cleese, who's Q, and he gets him like a little tour of the gadget room. You see some like gadgets from older movies in this. There's a shoe with a knife that comes out. Steve, what's that from?
Is that one from Goldfinger?
It's from Russia with Love,
Russia
I
with
think.
Love, yeah.
Who uses it though? It's not Bond.
No, it's one of the enemies. You see, I remembered it being one of Odd Job's shoes, but maybe it was a different villain. I get sometimes get the old ones a little conflated.
Yeah.
God, it's been a long time since I'd have to watch them again. But you're right. I think it was a villain shoe from one of the older ones.
There's also a jetpack, which is a jetpack that James Bond uses in Thunderball. Like it looks really hokey.
Right.
Yeah, it looks like something from like 1951 or something.
Yeah, it probably was too.
Shitty jetpack.
Yeah, so, I mean, James Bond is going through. He gets his gear. He gets the ring that can make glass break. He gets the laser watch, which you always get the laser watch. And he gets a car.
And they make a point of saying it's his 20th watch because this was the 20th Bond film.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's funny. I remember him saying that, but I didn't know that was a reference to
Yeah,
it.
he's like,
20th canon film.
Yeah, 20th canon film, not counting, Peter Sellers' version of Casino Royale.
And there's one other, right? One other non-canon?
Oh, well, technically, yeah. Never Say Never Again both does and does not exist in the main canon. It's weird. It's a strange one, yeah. Yeah.
It's another Power Rangers the movie situation.
Right.
Actually, no. That one's just non-canon all the way. All right, so what's this car about, Alan? You're a big car guy. What can you tell me about it?
Aston Martin Vanquish that somehow has some kind of crazy camo camera system, or however he explains it is like it's basically invisible.
Yeah,
Like
it can
they
turn invisible.
Refract the light with cameras or some bullshit they briefly explain. There's no science behind it.
There's no science to support this.
Yeah, they just kind of mentioned something.
Steve?
like
Do you disagree?
I'm going to disagree with you because that technology really existed. The U.S. Armed Forces were actually playing with a technology that worked almost exactly like that for use on jet fighters. Now, in defense of Alan, it doesn't really work quite exactly the way they describe in the film, and it was designed to camouflage aircraft that are like several miles in the sky. It was never intended to work when you were standing 5 feet from whatever you were trying to camouflage. So, yeah.
They have perfected it, though.
Right.
Now perfected. My supercar. So this is an Aston Martin. This is the first Aston Martin we see in the Brosnan films.
Yeah, he did drive a DB5 in GoldenEye for about 30 seconds as a reference to the older ones where Bond had a DB5. But in that case, it's implied that it's Bond's personal car.
I see.
And the only gadget included in it is a fax machine. So this is the first time, like, in his role as an MI6 agent during the Brosnan era, he gets an Aston, yeah.
It's usually BMWs for Brosnan, right?
Yeah, he'd been all BMWs before. There'd been a Z3 and a 7 Series. There'd been a Z8, beautiful automobile that unfortunately only lasted on screen for about 12 seconds and never got driven. But, yeah.
Still mad about that, huh?
I am, man. I love that car. They've been hyping it up that it was in the movie, and I was like, fuck yeah, we're going to get to see Bond rail around in a Z8. And it's like, no, it opens up with the car already parked, and then about a minute later, it gets cut in half by a giant saw.
They also got to make the point on the Vanquish how it has guns and missiles, and when Q hands him the manual, he like throws it in front of the car, and the little guns like blow up the manual.
Dude, that was a whole thing. That and the Jaguar that he's running around with in the ice chase scene both had to be... They ended up building like 6 of each because no 2 of them could do exactly the same thing. They needed one that had like the guns that worked and a second one that had the missiles. So they ended up building multiples of each one and just trading back and forth between them depending on what they needed for the shot. And the work with the Aston got so complicated... They had to remove the V12 that came in it and replace it with a Ford V8 because the V8 engine was physically smaller. and gave them enough additional room under the hood of the car to install those automated gun turrets. So yeah, it's pretty nuts how far they went.
Damn.
Yeah.
How many people worked on that? Like, that's like almost my dream job.
lot.
Can you imagine, like, oh, we need this crazy fucking car with missiles.
Yeah.
And you have to make it.
And it was a big deal. They wrote magazine articles and even did featurettes for the film on how the cars got designed and built. And it was a huge undertaking. It took a huge team of people to do multiple vehicles. It's actually fascinating. Like, even if you've got no interest in cars, if you've got any interest in how they pull that off for a movie, it's really, really
Like,
interesting.
people got paid. Like, that was literally their job. Like, they have to build these cars for this movie with, like, guns and shit.
Right? Yeah, and then the Jag that's a real Jag they started with, but that car was so heavily modified it didn't even look that much like the vehicle it was based on. So
Did they ever sell those cars? Like, does somebody as a private collector have those cars or something?
Some of the ones they built have gone into museum collections. In fact, I'm pretty sure the Peterson has had at least one of each of the cars they built on display before.
Really? But we didn't see them there.
I think I've seen them there once. I don't remember if you were with me or not.
No.
But
Maybe I don't remember.
some of the others are probably either in the hands of other museums or collectors, or most of them would have gotten destroyed.
The last time we went, they had out of a lot of stuff. The ones I remember are the Batmobile,
Yeah.
and they had the motorcycle that they used to film the T2 chase scene.
Yeah. They have that.
The
and
Fat Boy?
Yeah. And they've it was the camera rig.
It was like a Kawasaki.
Yeah, that had a camera, like a sidecar with a camera system. They red run with it.
That's how they filmed the truck in the wash. Like, they had the motorcycle and they were just driving behind it.
Right. And you got one of Burton's Batmobiles. But yeah, that was a whole to-do is getting those cars done.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the cars get featured pretty heavily a little bit later.
Yeah.
Not quite yet, though. We just get to see the car for now. And, you know, of course, he uses it to its full extent in the last act. But right now, we got Bond doing a little holodeck simulation. It's kind of unusual, man. So James Bond has these special glasses where he does, like, training situations. It's basically a holodeck, right?
Yeah. Well, no, you know what? I would say that's almost inaccurate, only because the holodeck is a room that can project the simulation around you. And in this case, it's like VR glasses.
Yeah, but there's, like, virtually no rules. So it's like, if he moves, does he move in the simulation, or does he just sit there and it's all in his mind?
It's all in his mind, I thought.
I think it works the way like a PSVR headset works, where like you can move while you're playing a game, but I don't know if you really need to. You might be able to like stand on a treadmill or move around the room. I don't know. Loosely defined rules.
It's like a Ready Player One situation.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and they feature that 2 times. This is the first time. And I felt that provided nothing to the story. Like, what was the point of that scene? Just to show like how cool that is, or like he's training in this simulation? Like,
Yeah.
why was that in the movie?
They're just trying to like up the technology ante and failing more than they're succeeding, I think, so far.
They could have just gave him like cooler gadgets or like more shit to bring with them.
Laser watch.
Look, the important question is holodeck versus danger room. I say danger room.
I say holodeck. I'd have a lot more fun.
Ooh, all right. It's true. The holodeck, you can make whatever you want. Danger room's mostly just you're going to die. So,
You just got Cyclops yelling at you through glass, telling you to fucking
where's the
do
sentinel
better.
coming after you? Like, man, you know what? You're right.
You and your team are dead. Fuck you, Cyclops.
God damn it, Scott.
All right, so I think from here on out is where I pretty much hate the movie.
It drags.
Took you this long, huh?
Yeah. I mean, there were some hits and misses up to this point. It was all right. But from the Ice Palace on, it fucking sucks, man.
That Ice Palace took 6 months for them to build. And they got the idea for it from a real ice hotel in Finland. Barbara Broccoli, one of the producers, wanted to replicate the way it looked.
All the chairs are made of ice.
Right. So they spent 6 months building this set. And even then, again, in terms of like, relative to how much time the hotel was on screen, not even the worst example.
The doors are made of ice that Halle Berry later can't escape from.
Like, they could have done this in a soundstage, I feel like, a lot more easily, but I don't know.
Everything's ice in there.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, ice chairs, ice
Tables.
like the doors,
The
whatever.
doors are ice. The doors that like are electric and close, like kind of like
Star Trek.
Star Trek, yeah, those are ice.
It's all ice. And there's no Mr. Freeze in sight, unfortunately. That would have been nice.
No, it wouldn't have.
I think it would have really helped this film out. You don't think so?
Nah, I don't know.
The drama of Mr. Freeze? So, but he's just trying to save his wife.
I'm empathetic.
That doesn't tug your heartstrings?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's just Arnold Schwarzenegger's depiction of that character kind of left me wanting. But
Maybe the animated version, huh?
right, yeah, I mean,
That's a better one.
Mr. Freeze from the early '90s Batman animated series was at least better than that.
Yeah, I think that episode won an Emmy.
Yeah, really? Wow.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I mean, I believe it's the same team that did Mask of the Phantasm, and that really is a great one.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, so we got Ice Palace, and there's some spy shit going down. James Bond is looking around, Jinx is looking around, but Jinx gets captured. And Jinx is captured by a henchman, not Diamond Face, but a different henchman named Mr. Kill. A name that's pretty on the nose, I think. And James Bond pretty much has to save Jinx. They have her hooked down to a Goldfinger style laser chair situation. Steve, can you elaborate on the lasers?
I don't even know what to say. They don't make any sense to me.
I hated the lasers.
They've just got this array of active deadly lasers on mechanical spinning computer controlled arms all over the place inside. Why are they there? What are they using them for?
It looks like
Well, it's because it's a front for a diamond mine.
But
Mine. Excuse me.
right, but why have these laser cutters inside the hotel? They're not doing any mining in the hotel.
They're not doing any mining at all. It's a fake diamond mine.
Yeah, but everyone else there doesn't know that.
That
They don't
whole
need the
scene
lasers.
Looks like
Right.
they're building some super high-end cars with the arms and the lasers.
Yeah,
They're
right.
welding scenes, and it looks like they have a fucking car.
And
factory.
somehow there's a table there they can strap her to that they can aim the lasers at. What the fuck is happening in here? No.
So they're gonna slowly kill her with a laser. They got her on the table.
It
The
wouldn't-
laser's slowly going to her head.
And
Right?
here we go again. They can't just shoot her. No, we have to
They
use this
can't- yeah.
slow-moving laser.
Well, and this is the second time this trope's been used in a Bond movie. Which one is it? Oh my god, where he leaves Bond strapped to the chair and Bond goes, "Do you expect me to talk?" He says, "No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die." And just leaves him there with the laser going. It's one of the Connery films.
No, you're thinking of the episode with Scorpio.
Which is a joke from from the Bond movie.
Yeah, that's Blofeld, right?
Yeah, it's Blofeld does it. Yeah, it's in one of the ones from the I think late '60s, and but that was cooler. And this is I don't get it. I don't get it. And anyway, he comes along. He starts fighting with Mr. Kill. The lasers are spinning around. She's spinning around on
The
this
lasers
table.
are just everywhere in this fucking room.
Yeah,
It's
they're all over the
It's
place.
hectic.
Fuck
It's
it.
confusing.
They're punching between lasers. Catherine Zeta-Jones would not be able to get through these fucking lasers, dude.
Right.
I tell you.
And he's
what a
fighting
great
someone
scene.
without getting hit by them. That shortly we find out are
Take your
super
hand out of
high
your
powers.
pants.
Shut up! Don't tell me what to do.
Go ahead, Alan.
I was gonna say he's fighting them, and they're avoiding the lasers because we find out how powerful they are when they make one go through the back of Mr. Kill's head.
Yeah, and then
It's like a
somehow
fucking
she manages to
gunshot.
get a hold of one of the controllers. But the controllers look like what you'd control a mechanical door with. It's got it's big yellow thing. It's got 3 buttons. One button makes it go up. One button makes it go down, and third button makes it stop wherever it is.
You'd lower a T800 into some molten
it looks
metal. with
just
that.
like the controller they used to lower him into the Volt Man.
It
at the
looks
end
like
of
the
detail.
controller from
Yeah.
Aliens when she gets the loader.
Same thing.
Yeah.
It's just a commercial, mechanical 3-button controller. How do you control an array of lasers with that?
You need
What
like
does
a
that do?
joystick, or
Yeah.
at least a D-pad.
How do you even know which laser you're controlling? You're just doing all of them on this one weird thing with
2002?
3. How did the 3 fucking buttons work for that?
They didn't get an arcade D-pad from a video game. Oh, it's a
Right.
laser controller. Just
mean,
like Street Fighter.
I guess I'm pretty sure most of the rest of the audience wasn't sitting there going, wait, how does that actually work? But I was, because it was stupid and I was bored by then.
And the whole fight, it just didn't do anything for me. It was just too much.
I'll summarize the whole shitty scene. James Bond rescues Jinx and kills Mr. Kill.
Technically, she kills Mr. Kill.
That's right.
Yeah.
She kills Mr. Kill.
Right?
The laser.
It's kind of a joint effort, I guess. But she is the one that uses the laser.
She'll kill a man. So, James Bond, runs away, and he goes and he hops in the, ice glider.
Oh, yeah, and they go chasing him in the ice glider.
So what they have is a weapon called Icarus, which is basically it's like the weapon from GoldenEye, except a not as good version. It's like a space satellite heat laser that
reflects the sun or something.
yeah, it reflects the sun in a beam. So he controls it, Graves controls it via a power glove. It's essentially a Nintendo power glove, let's be honest. He puts on this power glove, James Bond gets in an ice fucking, I don't know what to call this thing.
It's like a jet powered.
Ice glider.
Yeah, I mean, basically, yeah. It's like it's like what they used to run land speed records with on salt, except for it's got blades to run on ice with.
Yeah, it's the same shit.
Now, hold on. I'm not trying to interrupt, but we missed an important part where
Oh?
Bond sleeps with Miranda. What the hell was her name? Frost. I already forgot. Remember, he hooks up with her.
They shag, baby.
Yeah, and that's when she has the knife and the fruit in like bed.
Oh my god. So yeah, like, wait, no, that was Halle Berry.
Oh, was that Halle Berry?
Yeah.
Berry.
Oh,
when
I
they were
mixed
banging,
up.
she's like, she pulls out a knife,
yeah.
and then in the other hand pulls out a piece of fruit and just starts taking slices off and eating it.
You guys don't take food into bed with you for sex?
Or
Oh, absolutely. At first, I pull out a knife.
Yeah, I mean, I had
Wait till they're good and scared.
right. You got fried chicken during sex, great. Big old sandwich. You know, anything with dipping sauces, really. It's a little
got that
messy.
mixed
You're
But
like Frank Reynolds, like
exactly. You know, it's like the episode of Seinfeld where George tries to figure out how he can eat during sex.
oh my god.
It's one of the best ones. Like,
I forgot that was Halle Berry, but he does hook up with Frost.
Yeah, and we find out that she's a bad guy. She has betrayed MI6. She's actually the one that betrayed James Bond in the very beginning.
She was the like betrayer.
She was the betrayer.
Yeah, the betrayer.
You betrayed me, betrayer.
You're
They
the
refer to her as the mole, I guess.
the mole.
Yeah. Anyway,
Okay, yeah. So
we
they
all
were
saw
getting
that
it
coming,
So
I
they
think.
they use the Icarus beam to try to kill Bond, and he's outrunning it in the speed ice glider thing.
Well, we skipped over the part where he demonstrates Icarus, I guess, too. Because you've gotten some look at this. Like, well, first of all, Icarus was going to be called Solaris in this movie, and they changed the name because the remake of Solaris with George Clooney was coming out the same year.
oh,
Yeah, but he does a demonstration of Icarus when Bond and Jinx first get to the ice hotel to show everyone what it's about, and he's billing it as being a way to improve the world by being able to direct large amounts of sunlight wherever they want. So he's talking, you know, we can farm year round, even in places that don't normally have enough sun, and we can use it for this, we can use it for that. And he demonstrates it by using it to light up a huge swath of ice for the audience to see. And in that moment, it took a 20,000 watt array of lights in order to make the effect work. And it was definitely the largest, most powerful lighting array ever used in a British film production before, and may have been the international record as well. It's a really, really massive thing.
damn.
Yeah.
They really pulled out all the stops for this.
Right.
How did he build that thing? When did he build that thing? Where did he get the money?
How did
Where
he
did he
get
get launched? I mean, they don't explain any of that. They're like, oh, he just kind of controls this insane fucking sun laser directing space beam. How did this happen?
They just kind of have it. Yeah.
Like, how did he build it? How did he launch it? How did he get the money? He was freaking.
He was
in North
building
Korea,
it during GoldenEye in '95 or whatever that was.
which was almost the same idea. Didn't they have the the same shit? And he's supposed to be in North Korea. He's like not. How did he go from being there to faking his death to having this fucking space satellite?
The North Koreans
device?
can't even accurately launch a missile like 60 miles. So getting a satellite in space might be a bit much for them.
And he
You're
did,
dating this podcast, Steve.
Sorry.
He did this while he was like supposed to be dead. He did this in like 14 months.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, he did this also in some insane short time.
Or maybe it was there the whole time.
They don't explain it. They don't mention anything like that. You're just like, oh, he just has it.
He bought it from aliens, you see. He
They
gave him
don't
some
even
diamonds.
tell you that. They don't say anything. He just has it. There's no explanation to how it got there.
Yeah, I can't defend it. You're right. There's no way.
Like anything, nothing. Just say anything dumb. There's just nothing there about it.
All right, so the Ice Palace gets evacuated. No one there except villains and spies at this point, right? So this is when we get our action sequence with the cars.
Yes.
Now, keep going.
Go ahead.
Before the action sequence with the cars, here is the second time with the Jinx character and like the fourth time in this movie where instead of just shooting her, their whole plan is they lock her in the room and she's going to drown when the Ice Palace melts.
She gets captured again. Steve, this person was supposed to get her own spin-off movie, right? This
Yes.
character?
Yeah.
That's how badass she is?
Jinx was going to get her own spin-off movie, and when MGM decided they preferred a reboot to continuing on with the existing franchise, Barbara Broccoli actually apparently got really upset. She really wanted the spin-off to happen. Yeah.
Why, though?
Yeah, exactly. Why? I mean, it was frankly, MGM made the right decision. Rebooting with Craig was by far the right choice.
Okay.
You know what it would have been? It would have been that Daredevil spinoff, the Elektra movie.
Oh, shit, that's bad.
This is going to sound sexist, but it's obviously just because she's a woman. They just wanted like a female spinoff.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, or I think, I mean, from what I understand, Barbara Broccoli really liked that character, and they thought that she would resonate more with American audiences.
Not because she was a woman, just that character.
Well, I mean, being a woman, I guess, was
character?
probably part of the overall allure, yeah. But I also think that they believed that character would identify better with Americans, and then Americans might prefer Jinx to Bond, but yeah.
When you put
I
it
feel like they've been trying to push like a somewhat like who's going to be James Bond American equivalent, but in the same universe,
Right.
And I think that's the one they decided to go with Alan to, I guess.
Yeah.
But when you put it like that in this movie, her character was dull. She didn't have any like anything special.
She's
like,
sassy.
what's
She
so
told
cool
the
about her
guy
character?
that like he asked her a question. She's like, "Yo, mama."
Is she super like athletic? Is she has some kind of backstory? Is she's just there's nothing about her. She's like hollow. And that's what you want to make like, oh, this is going to relate her. She's so cool. There's nothing about her.
I think they ended up doing something way more interesting as far as there have been other attempts at female spy movies or like there was Salt with Angelina Jolie, which was not great. But they now I can't remember the name. The one they did last year or a year and a half ago with Charlize Theron.
That one was good.
Late 80s.
Yeah.
That one was cool. I mean, I'm a big fan of anything set in the 80s, and I like the music, but like that one I thought they pulled off really well.
Yeah.
Because they made her badass. They gave her like a story.
Yeah.
She did stuff. Jinx is just there.
That movie might be implemented into the John Wick universe.
No shit.
Yeah, I heard that in a podcast. I think the Weekly Planet. But I'm not sure how accurate it is.
I like John Wick. I think they're going a little too far with it, though. I don't know.
I like me some John Wick better than this shit.
Well, hell yeah. I'll take any of the John Wicks over this any day of the week, and I like John Wick. Second one got a little ridiculous, but, it's all right.
You haven't seen 3 yet, though. Huh?
I've not seen 3 yet. In fact, I wanted to see that this weekend, so maybe next week.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, so, car chase. What 2 cars are facing up against each other, and who's driving them? Steve.
It's an Aston Martin Vanquish, driven by James Bond, and a Jaguar XKR, driven by Zhao. And
Diamond Face.
Yeah, Diamond Face. This chase sequence, this is the biggest offender of the film. This chase sequence took a little over 2 minutes to play out in the movie. It took 4 weeks to film. 4 weeks for footage that ended up taking less than 3 minutes in total to play out. They filmed it using undercranked cameras, which is a technique used to make the action look faster than it really is. So this is another instance where they did that to try and make the cars look faster. They had to use cars that were modified with all-wheel drive and studded tires in order to get enough grip on the ice in order to make the effects work. And they did little bits of close-up filming on a set in an airstrip hangar in England. But they had a lot of difficulty making this work. They shot that on a lake in Iceland. The lake is fed by a river that I guess also shares water flow into and out from the ocean. And apparently that lake normally freezes, but the freeze is inconsistent, and the salt content in the water affects it. And they waited around for weeks for it to freeze over thick enough for them to film this scene. And when it wasn't happening, they almost ended up moving filming to a different lake in New Zealand. And they came up with this solution where they dammed off the feed to the lake from the river, and that somehow controlled the flow and the salt content enough they were able to get the lake to freeze to the point that they could film the scene on it.
That's so much shit for this.
Right? So 4 weeks worth of actual shooting, plus all the logistics of literally forcing a lake to freeze so they could make this work. And this is before you consider all the work they did with the cars. Like, it's pretty crazy.
My first gripe with that is the first thing you said. It was like 2 minutes of actual movie time.
Yeah.
That whole thing, I swear to God, felt like 10 minutes.
Right.
It dragged that part and the whole rest of the movie. But that part on the ice, I just felt like it was way too long.
And I love a good car chase, and there's a way to do it right. You look at the original Italian Job, even the remake of Italian Job, they did it pretty well. There's a chase scene with minis in the first Jason Bourne movie that pulled off really well.
It's a good one.
It was at least a really good one. The movie Ronin has a couple of the greatest chase scenes I think have ever been filmed. The chase scene at the beginning of Quantum of Solace.
As far as I'm concerned, the heavyweight champion of chase scenes is Mad Max Fury Road.
It's a really good one. I would argue Quantum wins, but because there's some crazy stuff involved with filming it. But either way, I mean, I think they're all you're talking upper echelon.
This one was just them sliding around on ice, firing a rocket every minute.
Right.
A lot of cuts, just a lot of bombs going off and guns being shot from one car to another. It's not interesting to watch, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
Because it's lame. It's
and maybe if I was a film major or something, I'd be able to tell you technically why. But all I can say is
I was a film major, and even it's just not a very exciting chase scene.
Some of it's not exciting because they keep Zhao's Jaguar has a minigun in the back. He has rockets.
He has a Dan minigun.
He does have a Dan minigun.
They fire so many rockets and bullets, and no one ever really hits anyone or dies. It's yo, you just fired a rocket at him and it didn't do anything.
Well, James Bond's car gets flipped upside down and it's still sliding on the ice. It's it looks like it's still driving.
Yeah.
And then to get out of being upside down, he launches the ejector seat.
From the passenger side.
Yes.
Through the roof.
Which I guess just flips it back over.
Pops it back over. Would have literally just blown up the inside of the car with him in it.
His Aston Martin that is upside down and like you said is still driving. Zhao doesn't catch up with his car that's upside down. It still maintains the same speed even though it's upside down.
It's still going 70.
Yeah. And he has enough time to flip it back ridiculously, and Zhao hasn't catched up. He's still behind him.
Nope.
Yeah. So dumb.
They take the chase into the inside of the palace, and James Bond eventually bests him, kind of through luck. Steve, can you tell us about how he takes out Zhao?
He eventually ends up in a position where Zhao is gonna ram him with his car, and James is in the Vanquish with this camouflage system. So at the last second, while Zhao is plummeting toward him, he makes the car invisible and then backs it up 5 feet, so that Zhao goes through an ice door and into a giant pool of frozen water instead of hitting him.
Hey, here's something I just thought of that made it even stupider. When Zhao's gonna ram him, what happened to his minigun and all his rockets?
Yeah,
you can't
exactly.
just blast him?
That was me. The next thing out of my mouth is apparently Zhao had not thought about what an 80-mile-an-hour impact, T-bone impact on ice would have done to him in a convertible topped car filled with explosives. Why would you be T-boning this guy?
You should have shot him. You have a minigun in the back.
Yeah.
You have missiles.
That's a Dan minigun.
It's a damn minigun.
I'm gonna ignore all of that for the 5th time in this movie and try to kill this person in the stupidest way possible.
Right.
No one ever shoots anyone. No one's a real bad guy.
The director's the real bad guy.
Yeah, the real sin here.
Nah, he seems like a nice guy.
That's actually been one of my things I want to make in a movie is something more realistic like that. I want a bad guy to not talk, not give some stupid 5-minute speech, and then improvise the shittiest way to kill someone. If the bad guy wants you dead, he just comes up and shoots you.
Just kill me.
Yeah.
How about a movie so realistic, it shows a guy on screen and he points a gun at the camera, and then a guy from the movie theater who is the same actor walks in and shoots you.
Okay.
I call it suicide.
That's my
Nice.
final art
It's kind of like a weird twist on The Ring. If you watch it, you die, but some guy just comes into the theater and kills you.
Yeah. But, I mean, obviously no one that doesn't already know this. You have to sign a paper that says, you're okay. You're okay with seeing this movie. You know,
murdered.
You're going to be shot. It's all good. I don't want any innocents to get killed.
There was an Eric Andre interview where they asked him what's the one thing you can't do on camera or you were never allowed to do. And one of his answer was kill myself. He can't kill himself on his show.
Damn, that's too bad.
But yeah, so Zhao decides not to use any of his high-powered weapons on his highly modified Jaguar and decides to just try to ram Bond, which he fails at.
Well, here's the thing. He used the missiles, didn't work. The Dan minigun didn't work. His little shotguns didn't work. Now he has to try the battering ram. If I had a car with that many gadgets and I was in a car fight, I would try to use them all.
Yeah.
And it was time for the battering ram.
A car fight. I get in car fights often.
Constantly.
Some guy stared me down last week, so we got in a car fight.
I seen you drive. You're always getting in car fights.
Right.
You're still in a car fight with that one fucking...
Yeah,
Great, now I have to censor that out.
All right, yeah, you can't say that. You're involved in a
allowed to say her
legal
name.
proceeding involved with that.
I'm just not allowed to give her exact address and phone number and date of birth and social security number.
818.
Yeah. 555-5555.
Dial 555 boner. See what happens.
You guys, when you were in the 90s, when you were in the 90s, when you were kids in the 90s, do you remember ever like calling from payphones, like those like sex numbers?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Friends and I would make a game out of it. We would literally just 1-800 and then whatever sexual term would fit, we would try. And almost all of them go to a service. It's crazy.
I only knew of one, which my cousin told me about, and that shit was fun. It was 1-800-FAT GIRL.
Yeah, there you go. Butt sex, cum sex, whatever you can make fit, it will take you to an adult. Like, seriously, anything you can imagine what 12-year-olds come up with, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Anything you can think of, 1-800 blah. It's a sex service,
Big boobs.
right? And it's just like back then to a degree too, but like I can't imagine why the fuck this exists now. Because they have live cam websites. Like, if you're going to pay for that kind of thing, you should at least look at someone, I would think. Whatever.
Some people just want to hear a nice voice.
I guess so, man. I guess a reassuring voice while you're masturbating can be helpful.
Imagine if you could just call and, like, have, I don't know, like, Morgan Freeman read something to you. How nice that would be. Like, if you're, like, upset. Like, I'm calling the Morgan Freeman number, and he reads, like, some like Zen like shit,
Like a wholesome
It's just like a site. Okay, so this is not sex related. This is just you're calling it calm down.
Yeah,
like all right.
Nothing weird. You're like just trying to like relax.
Or like Michael Caine reads you a book.
1-800 nice voice.
Dude, I think we might be onto something.
Story time.
We better put this out before someone steals our idea.
So for $1.95 a minute, Michael Caine will read your story.
Yeah, whatever story you want.
Right.
No pre-recorded bullshit, right?
It's just gonna be all Jeff Goldblum and Christopher Walken.
Oh no, they're the premium ones. That's $5 a minute. Yeah, those are the premium voices.
All right, guys, shit's getting off the rails. So, speaking of off the rails, this whole fucking thing is off the rails. So, Diamond Face, he gets killed. He crashes his car, lands in some water. James Bond shoots a chandelier from above him, comes down, stabs him to death. He's done.
That
Diamond
whole thing,
Face
though,
is done.
It shows him screaming for like a second and a half. It's so cliche and dumb where he's like, no, and you see it falling. And my favorite part is the very, very short blip when it happens for like a second, maybe even less. They show like the red water kind of bubble up to make sure like he's dead because the water turned red.
Yeah.
But they only show it for like half a second.
We can't show too much.
Yeah. But that's how
PG-13.
you know he's dead because the red part came up or the water turned red.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So dumb.
We know he's dead, everyone. It's like, we gotta make sure you know.
Are you sure that he's dead? Oh yeah, the water's red.
Yeah.
All right. He's good. All right, so we got our... I mean, normally I would think this is where the movie would end, but we got our final action scene coming up here. James Bond and Jinx, they have to infiltrate the airplane in which Gustav Graves and his father are on. And how did they get in? They ride in on switchblades. What's a switchblade, Alan? Can you describe what it is in the movie?
It's a small winged, like fixed, like board they lay on. They jump out of the plane to like dive into the area, but they're on these like flat winged boards called switchblades. I don't even know what they do. They don't look that cool, and it's dumb.
They're gliders, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like you just gotta like hang on to it though. Like,
Yeah, I mean, gliders are powerless. In this scenario, I think what they were aiming for is the idea is you've got more control in terms of direction on it than you do when you're floating on a parachute. So on parachutes, you can only kind of land in a general vicinity. So I think the idea is supposed to be they use these things to control their descent to a certain like level, and then they pull the parachutes because it guarantees they can land closer to where they want to.
switchblades, pretty extreme.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, those types of things really do exist. People get towed up into the air by real planes. There's YouTube videos of it. And people pay tens of thousands of dollars, these huge, unpowered gliders. You get hooked up to the back of somebody else's plane, they pull you up into the air, and then they just release the cable. And you fly for as long as you can
Yeah,
fly.
we've all seen
Like-
The Dark Knight.
No, I mean, except, like, this really exists. Like, it's a real
We've
thing.
all seen Batman kidnapped.
You're thinking of the Skyhook. That's
the
a different thing.
Skyhook.
Which is
Right.
also a real thing.
That is actually also a real thing the military was
what I'm
working
thinking.
on, yeah.
Isn't his name Zhao too? What the hell's his name in?
No, Alan, that's racist.
No, it is.
Every
no, isn't
Chinese
it?
person's name.
I'm not even kidding. What's his
Zhao.
name in?
No, Alan,
The
they're
Dark
not all
Knight?
named Zhao, goddammit. They're all named Diamond Face, I'm pretty sure.
I'm like,
I thought they were all named Han.
They're all named Johnny Tran.
Oh, okay.
Prepare to have your ass handed to you.
Billions of Asian people all have this one name.
You know what? It was you!
It was you
never
disrespecting
knocked
my
on no
family.
yeah.
she's gonna blow him away.
Oh god, we're going too far.
Right.
Fuck you little
They
dipshit.
raided his house, disrespected him in front of his family.
Oh man, he fucked up. He fucked up, Toretto. All right,
All right.
we got our last scene. Let's get
Yes.
through this fucking mess.
Please.
All right, so
The movie is on replay behind us. It's almost actually over. Like the movie's caught back up to us.
Oh my god.
So before Graves had just had a power glove to control Icarus, now he's in full NES gear. He's got 2 power gloves. He's got like the NES shoulder pack. He's got a Virtual Boy on. He's got everything on.
I love the Virtual Boy.
No good.
I loved it. It was great.
This whole suit, this was another dumb part because he has the power glove which can shock people, so that has some function. He has the goggles to like see or control the laser, but otherwise his whole armor does nothing for him in the fight. He never utilizes it. It never makes him any stronger.
You mean his football shoulder pads?
yeah,
that
his
are
football
painted
shoulder
silver?
pads, they don't do anything. Like, what was the point of having all this armor?
You're right though. He just controls the thing like remotely by computer command. So like, I guess I get the hand controls because that's what he's. But like, why the suit? What do you need the padded suit for?
It didn't make him stronger. He never used it for his advantage. It didn't help him.
He
just
can do
kinda
like
had
he
it.
can shock people, but
With the glove part.
The glove
What's
part,
the
yeah.
part of the shoulder
because he
pads
could do
and the
that
armor?
before he had the full gear.
Yeah.
Just made him feel fancy, I guess.
I thought the
Steve-
full gear was going to transform him. Like, he's stronger.
Oh yeah, he turns into a car, a semi truck. Steve, can you take us through this last bit of it? Because I would just not prefer not to.
I mean,
he's already fed up
yeah,
with
I like. How does it even play out? Oh, okay, he's got Gustav, who is the Korean general's son, but in transition form, gets his father onto the ship with him and tells his father, "Hey, it's actually me." Then he makes everyone watch while he uses Icarus to start blowing up the DMZ, which is the dead zone separating North and South Korea. And the idea, I guess, being that doing so is going to clear a path for the North Korean army to invade the South in an attempt to rejoin the two with each other.
And he's doing everything for the father.
Right.
Like, we're going to win.
Which is, on every level, every part of this, every single detail of it is just wrong and stupid and unreal. Like, number one, this is going to elicit an international reaction. Number two, the South Korean army would kick the living shit out of the North Korean army. It's not even a competition. The U.S. helps fund and equip them. And it's not just that I think the Americans are the best. Like South Koreans have a real army. The North Koreans have a disorganized bunch of afraid people in uniform with weapons they don't really know how to use, half of which don't work. Like, and I mean, fucking Japan would get involved. The U.S. would get involved. Europe would get
Yeah,
involved.
like, this
North
guy's
Korea would
literally
cease to exist inside of like 24 hours.
this guy's like literally attacking the world.
right? There's no way. There's no fucking way. You're just gonna blow up the DMZ. You think the North Korean army's just gonna march into Seoul and win? You fucking idiot! Like,
Well, the U.S. they made a point
North
to show-
Korea, Steve's coming for you.
right? Yeah. I mean, fuck.
Steve's
dude.
calling you out, North
I'm
Korea.
calling your asses out.
They made a point to show the U.S. launched one missile, and then when it got destroyed, they gave up. They're like,
Right.
"Oh, we can't do this."
Yeah. And then, you know what? Honestly, I've mostly forgotten how James wins from there. Just like that, it ends failing, and the ship crashes, and Zhao ends up, or the kid ends up dead, and
All right, I'll summarize it. There's a lot of shaky cam,
yeah.
and then Jinx starts fighting Frost.
oh, that's right.
Who's
And then-
wearing some sports bra for some reason?
Yeah.
I was like, "What the fuck is she wearing?"
That was the best part of the movie.
Well, that's kind of
She
cool.
is super beautiful.
But
Anyway,
why the fuck was she wearing that?
Gone
That's
Girl?
weird.
yeah.
I wouldn't fuck with Gone Girl.
No, I wouldn't. She's a psycho. Like,
Yeah, it's like Corey said, or you were like,
Yeah, Bond is fighting Graves. Frost is fighting Jinx. So it's like they're cutting between the two. One of them's like a sword fight. The girls are doing a sword fight. Bond and Graves are just doing like a good old fashioned
hand to hand.
hand to hand. Except Graves has his like Palpatine electric shock gloves.
And this
I don't
rest
know.
of the suit does nothing for him.
Icarus is destroying the mines. They fly into the Icarus. It fucks them. It ruins the plane.
oh yeah.
Shit's all crazy.
Yeah,
This
there's
is the climax
just
of the
people are
movie.
flying out of the plane. Cats and dogs living together. Mass hysteria.
Even his father, in the middle of blowing up the DMZ, just going back a step, even the general, his father, was like, why would you do this? This is not going to end well for us. This is the stupidest thing you could have done. And then he's like, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah,
to
the
stop
general,
you
he's basically like the one in charge
Yeah.
of North Korea. And he's like, yeah, we can't do it.
You cannot make this work. Stop. I'm going to shoot you to stop you from doing it.
It was
Like,
a small detail, but yeah, that was a good point because even the father's like, "You're an idiot," or like, "I disown you," or he didn't care for him to do that.
right?
Yeah.
He's like, we'll get nuked. And he's like, yeah, we'll just shoot the nukes with this one
Shoot
thing
in
we
the
got.
sky. Oh,
And he's
okay.
like, there's no guarantees that that's going to work. that
Right?
way.
Like, fuck, it's like the Reagan had a project he called Star Wars. It actually had a real name, but the press called it
Oh,
Star
I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw Star Wars.
The satellite?
It's a good one.
Yeah, oh, that one. Okay, yeah. No, they were working on a satellite system that was meant to be able to track and blow nukes out of the sky, intercontinental ballistic missiles out of the sky before they got to the U.S.
What happened with that?
It never worked. They blew hundreds of millions of dollars in 80s money on it, and they finally came back around and were like, we think this might work eventually, but you need like another 30 or 40 years worth of computerized tech in order to make it work.
And you need like another $1 trillion or some insane amount of money.
So they finally just stopped it.
They wasted all that precious 80s money.
Israel's got this really interesting ground-based one called Iron Dome. This is not a political thing I'm going to talk about. It's just an interesting system, and it actually does sort of function like that. It can track missiles that were launched from the ground and are in close range, and it can actually fire them down before they enter Israeli airspace. And it works. But like, it's a lot more basic than what Reagan was trying to make happen.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
I can't wait till Elon Musk unveils his laser satellite.
I know. This movie's going to be like a handbook at that point.
Right.
They were trying to warn us. We didn't listen.
All right, so Jinx. She kills Frost. She stabs her with a book. Well, the knife has a book in it, and she stabs her with that.
Yes.
Oh, because she said she could read her every move?
Yeah,
And
she
then
says, I can read your every
this,
move.
Bitch. She stabs her.
Maybe that's why she was so cool enough for her own spin-off
Another
movie.
fucking one-liner.
Yep.
Like, so bad.
And James Bond kills Gustav Graves by, like, pulling his parachute, and then he flies out of the plane.
Oh, yeah, he gets him sucked into the engine of the plane.
But
Yeah.
not before he tells him gravity will deal with him.
Even though that wasn't gravity.
And he went into the jet engine.
That was suction.
Yeah.
Suction's not the same as gravity, James.
I was
It's
confused
okay.
about that.
Well, I mean, gravity will still deal with him, right?
Yeah, I mean, gravity will deal with the bits of him that come out the other end of the
I mean,
propeller.
I guess, but
So,
like,
yeah.
why did he need to say that? Like, why did he say that?
They needed a line, and it was very apparent no one could think of one that had to do with the situation at hand. So, like,
You suck.
You've been eliminated.
okay, they should have hired you, Steve.
Right?
You suck.
Or he should have said the line like "die today" or something.
Yeah, you're going to die today.
No, they already said he's gonna live to die another day line. It was already said in the movie.
Oh, this movie's got too much integrity to do that twice.
What if they were like pitching that and he's like, no, we can't say it twice. That's the one thing. No.
You're a madman.
Today's your day.
Get off my set.
Get off my plane.
All right, so James Bond and Halle Berry Jinx are still in the plane. They got to get out of there. Fortunately, there's a helicopter inside the plane. So they get in that. It starts falling out of the plane at the last minute before they hit the ground. Turn on the propellers. Boom. Day is saved. And all the diamonds are in there. Did we even say that Frost was the mole the whole time? Whatever. Who gives
Oh,
a
yeah.
fuck?
Frost was a mole.
This
We're
is
so
the-
close to the end. I can taste
Yeah, I
it.
just want it to be done.
This is the part where they show one of the Ferraris from the plane, like in the field.
Yeah.
And then they
that
show
one was
the
the
cow.
Lamborghini.
Or the Lamborghini, and then they show the cow.
Right.
And
Oh,
it
yeah,
says
the cow.
mooing in subtitles.
That was the highlight of the movie. I want to see more cow. They could have trimmed out like half an hour of Holly Berry, just giving me more cow.
And
Get
Boomer.
that cow level.
All right? Need more cowbell.
All right, Moneypenny. We see her before the movie ends as well. She's
Oh,
in the
yeah.
holodeck. Fucking James Bond.
Yeah, that was weird. I don't
Yeah.
know why they put that in there.
She's just rubbing one out with a VR headset, I guess.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
John Cleese walks in and he's like,
Moneypenny?
I was, just testing it out.
That's rather hard, isn't it?
Yes. Very.
his dick is hard.
In the holodeck. Yeah, or whatever.
And it ends with James Bond and the James Bond girl together, playing with the diamonds.
The blood diamonds that don't belong to them.
Yeah.
That they've spilled everywhere and are like having sex on.
Yeah,
How
they're
did
just
they even-
laying on them and everything.
How did all of those even make it with them?
They were in the helicopter.
Why were they in the helicopter?
Because that's where Zhao was storing them.
Right? There you go. Okay, that makes total
There you
sense.
Yeah. I mean, it ends here. I hate the last hour or so of this movie. It's
Yeah.
so fucking... It's such a drag.
It is.
They do all these fantastical things, like you were saying, with like the expensive lighting and all the work they did on these cars and the sets. but it doesn't matter if it's not done well.
No.
And it doesn't really come together here.
Don't mean a thing if it don't got that swing.
Yeah, I feel like the flow didn't jive at all. It just jumped to different scenes. They had to go different places. It dragged. It just wasn't a good.
Not exactly
flow.
GoldenEye.
Yeah.
God,
Steve?
no. This movie cost 2.5 times what GoldenEye did to make. I don't remember what the exact budgets were, but I did verify that statistic is true. That the budget for this was about 2.5 times the size.
Probably because they gave it most of it to Brosnan and Jinx.
Yeah.
Or Halle Berry.
Steve, what is your favorite Bond film?
That's a really tough one for me to answer. And I kind of break them into segments. Like, I really love Goldfinger. I think it's my favorite one with Connery in it. I'm really fond, though I know a lot of people aren't, but I'm really fond of Living Daylights and License to Kill with Timothy Dalton. I think those are among my absolute favorites overall. GoldenEye, absolutely my favorite of the ones Brosnan was in. Definitely one of my favorite Bond films overall. After that, I just kind of fast forward to the Daniel Craig ones. I think we disagree a little bit on how much we like Spectre. But otherwise, like, I really like all of them, and I think the others are all really good. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I have a question for each of you, and there is a right answer.
Oh God, I know what's coming. All right.
Who is the Jesus character? This question has been sponsored by Josh from Spoilers. All right, go ahead.
Okay, who's Jesus in this one? Okay. I'm going to have to say Jinx, just because she does temporarily, I guess, die or drown, and then she's brought back to life by Brosnan.
Oh, very good answer, Alan. Steve, what's your
answer? I was
answer?
actually going to say exactly the same thing. She drowns and is kind of resurrected. You think she's going to be dead, and then she's not.
Because he throws her in the jacuzzi.
Yeah.
You guys are very smart men. However, you're both wrong, unfortunately.
It's not fair. You just make up whatever answer you want.
So I appreciate your attempts, and you guys are getting the hang of this. However, the Jesus character is clearly James Bond when he has the long hair and beard. He looks exactly like Jesus.
Really? All right, fine.
He does.
Yeah. I'm just going to accept that arguing is not going to do me any good.
James Bond, the Jesus character, post-torture.
Oh, that's what the JC initials in the middle was named for.
Oh, yeah. After
James,
they forsaken
Jesus Christ
him.
Bond.
They forsaken him, or she
Oh,
said
yeah, you know what? He was
son
forsaken by
to die.
MI6.
Yep.
They betrayed him. They believed he, you know what? You're right. James is Jesus.
Thank you.
I guess that makes M Judas.
That bitch.
Yeah.
And I don't know who Jinx is, but it doesn't matter. She's
Mary
more
Magdalene.
the
Yeah,
apostle.
boom. There it is.
She's basically a hooker, so. Like,
Damn, savage. You wouldn't be saying that if she got her own awesome movie.
I mean, if she'd gotten her movie, it would not have been awesome.
Yeah,
And
I
we
don't
both
think
know
so.
that.
It's probably better.
Alan, on any rating scale you want, what would you give Die Another Day?
I give this movie 2 out of 10 diamonds. I would give it a 1, but I give it just one more 2, just because it's a Bond movie. Everything about it wasn't fun, it dragged, the story barely made sense, the villain was ridiculous, diamond face, why does he still have the diamonds in his face? But, I mean, there was action, it was barely entertaining. It's not the worst movie I've ever seen. Theodore Rex was like a million times worse. So I'm not going to give it a 1, but I'll give it like a 2. Maybe a 3, highest. But I'll stick with 2.
All right. Steve, what about you?
I'm going to rate this on a scale of 1 to 10 PP7s, because the PP7 is the handgun Bond uses. It's not going to be a great rating, but I'm going to be surprisingly generous with this one. I'm going to give this one a 4 out of 10, which I would say is slightly below average relative to the other Bond movies. Like, a lot of it still felt like a Bond movie, and the scale of it was big, and a lot of work went into the sets and the craftsmanship on the cars, and it's not like an unbearably awful movie, but a lot of it is goofy and inexplicable. It doesn't hold up even in comparison to other genre films or other members of the Bond franchise. So definitely the worst of the ones Brosnan was in. And Brosnan has said that himself. He said himself that it's the least favorite of the ones he was in. Roger Moore said it's the least favorite of the Bond movies ever. So yeah, I mean, I would say where 5 is average and 10 is amazing, I'm gonna call this one a 4. It wasn't the worst thing ever, but it was below average. Yeah.
I tend to agree with you. Just to be different, I'll do a 5-point rating system. I'll say 2 out of 5 stars.
Yeah.
And I like the first half about, and I hate the second half about.
Yeah.
It's a James Bond movie at the beginning. I don't like that fucking song.
No.
But other than that, it's a James Bond movie. And then it's just a mess. It's an incoherent mess of explosions and fucking lasers from space and missiles flying around and green screens. And there's just shit going on, and I just want it to end.
If you want to spend 2 hours watching something amazing that involves a laser-based weapon, watch Akira. Somebody just go rent Akira, trust me.
I ain't watching your weeb shit, right?
Boy, Corey.
I ain't getting no pillow with no fucking anime character on it, neither. Alright?
Because that's the obvious next step. Like, you have to watch one of the most critically acclaimed animated films in the history of mankind. The next step from there is you're sleeping in bed with a pillow. Like a giant hentai pillow. You're telling people it's your girlfriend. This is Naruto. Like,
This is Naruto.
God. Gross.
Amira immediately divorces you.
If you're
Your life
listening
just
to the
goes
show
into a
and you're one of
spiral.
those people, just feel free to not listen. I'm going to talk a lot of shit about you. You can put whatever you want in the comments. I'm not going to feel bad. Like,
Steve's taking no prisoners.
Stop challenging our listeners.
right? All right. Sorry.
God damn it.
Steve's
Alright.
taking no prisoners.
Dude, Corey's really sensitive about this, guys.
Hey,
I'm
we
gonna
have to
read
respect our fans.
something. I haven't done this for a while, but we haven't got any emails, but we got a comment on YouTube. I don't think they were trying to come off mean-spirited or anything, so keep that in mind. But
Yeah.
it's on our Terminator 2 episode.
For sure.
So let me see if I can read this off and still be positioned for the mic. All right, so it says, actually, the reason they used Linda's twin in the mirror is because they actually used the dummy head for Arnold, and the real Arnold is in the mirror. So you remember when they open up his skull?
Yeah.
You know the scene they're talking about,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you're right in the sense that it was a dummy head in the reflection, what was supposed to be the reflection. But I'm going to disagree with your assertion. Functionally speaking, that's not why they chose to film that scene that way. They could have done that scene without involving her twin, without doing it that way.
So I see their point, though. They're saying that, so there's 2 Arnolds. One of them is real. One of them's a dummy. And in the dummy one, they can actually go inside the head. And in the real one, they can't. They just have to simulate it.
They had Linda on one side with Eddie and the real Arnold's head, mimicking what the work was supposed to look like. And they had her twin sister on the other side of the mirror doing the actual work on the dummy head. And that is part of what made the effect work. Absolutely. But it's not why they chose to film it that way.
What was the reason? I don't remember.
Well, one of them is that it makes it a lot easier to film at an angle without having to worry about having the camera reflect in the mirror. Another one was that even though it took many takes for them to sequence, it avoided the need to refilm. With most scenes, you've got to film at multiple angles. The actors have to, at least half the actors have to do the scene 3, 4, 5 separate times from different angles, with different. Then they would have had to play around with the position of the puppet head, and they would have had to reverse where Linda and Eddie were, and it would have just, it's technically difficult as it was for them to do the way they did. My understanding has always been they did it that way because Cameron thought the effect would come out better and it would avoid having to refilm the scene from multiple angles.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was a pretty good comment.
It's a good comment. I hope that person, in all sincerity, if you're listening to this episode, I hope I did not sound like a jerk. I don't mean to. I would disagree with that sentiment, but that's an opinion.
That was from Patriatry. If I see any other good YouTube comments, maybe I'll read them off or emails.
Okay.
For now, though, I think we are ready for the hats.
Oh, boy.
So who was the lucky draw on this one? That was you, right, Steve?
Yeah, I think that was me. So
right.
It should be Alan's turn.
Yeah, send it over to Alan. Alan, make a good pick.
Okay.
Dangerous days, Alan's picking.
Oh, boy. I'm going to pick at random here. I grabbed this one. I have no idea what it is. Here's the hat back. And this one is going to be... Can I get a drum roll? Any Karate Kid movie.
Really? No.
Yes.
No. I veto.
Steve already knows where I'm going. with
Veto.
this. Steve already knows where this is
I
going.
would rather do the new one with Hilary Swank. Please, Corey, help me out here.
So let me read off the 5 existing Karate Kid movies so Alan can make a choice.
I mean, any of the first 3 I'm fine with, but I know none of them is what we're going to choose.
Karate Kid, Karate Kid 2, Karate Kid 3, the next Karate Kid with Hilary Swank, and the Karate Kid remake with Jaden Smith.
All right, obviously I only get one vote. I'm voting for either 3 or the new Karate Kid. I'm just going to wait while the two of you outvote.
Excuse me, I didn't know you got a vote in this. This says any Karate Kid movie that I pick.
No, that's not how the picks work. We negotiated over M. Night Shyamalan.
Work, Steve.
All right, Steve's right. Let's.
It has to be a Karate Kid movie. We should have to vote on. I know I'm going to get outvoted, but we should at least have to vote.
I get to pick any Karate Kid movie.
No, that's not how it works. You've got to back me up on this one. Even if I get outvoted, it at least has to be democratic.
Well, here's the thing, Alan. I don't want Steve to quit the podcast.
Right? You guys can outvote me, but it has to be democratic. We're not going to do it like that.
Fine, we've already agreed.
All right, let's all vote then.
Okay.
All right, on the Karate Kid movie. So, Steve, what's your pick?
I would say 3, but that definitely we're not doing it. So, given the 2 choices we probably have, I'm going to vote for next Karate Kid.
The Hilary Swank version.
Yeah.
Alan?
I'm going with Jaden Smith.
The Karate Kid
The
remake?
Karate Kid.
Oh, well, I guess that
Chan
gives me the power.
Yeah, you're really the one breaking it.
I'm going to go with the next Karate Kid as well. There is so much funny shit to talk about in that movie.
It's ridiculous in its own. We don't need to do the really awful one. Like, this one's bad enough.
Yeah, but this one doesn't have Jackie Chan.
Don't worry, Alan. You'll get another hat pick.
All right. Now, how old was Hilary Swank in this one?
Early 20s,
She was, like, young.
something like that.
Yeah, I think she was like 23 or something.
Yeah.
She's like pretty young.
Definitely an early one. Like, I don't recall anyone really being much aware of her at the time the film came out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you seen this movie, Alan, The Next Karate Kid?
No, I remember of it. I've seen a couple scenes. I remember the poster. I know it has Hilary Swank, but I never saw it.
It sucks. It's awful.
It does.
It might be
It
good
sucks.
because I never saw it.
But it doesn't give any support to Jaden Smith, so I'm happy.
We got to get some more Jaden Smith movies.
Right?
After Jaden Smith.
All right. Well, actually, after this episode, I think we all got to have a little talk about the hat and our veto powers. I think it's time to grant some special access.
Right?
Free passes. What do you say?
Yeah, we've got to do something.
Steve's going to be using his left and right. I can already feel it.
Which is, in fairness, I will be fair in this. We were going to have to limit how often any of us can actually use a veto.
All right. Well, let's talk about it after. I think we got enough recorded for now, so thank you all for listening.
Right.
If you want to write in, you can email us at bigdumbmovie@gmail.com. Leave us a comment on YouTube. Find us on Instagram. And thank you for listening.
See ya.
Laters.